What is up, everyone? Welcome back. We got another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show for you here. It's Wednesday evening. We're going to be going over the Week 10 start sits. Any questions you guys have, fire them up in the chat room. If you're watching this video post live, just fire up your comments in the comment section and I will answer them as soon as I can. Basically, what we're going to do tonight, we're going to hang out for the next half an hour or so and kind of just go over the practice news, the practice reports, the player news that came out today. Again, Wednesday is the first day where most teams get their practice reports out. So we got a lot of news to get through. I'm just going to kind of start by looking at the NBC Sports Edge. Kind of the headlines here. Darren Waller limited at practice today. We'll see if he's able to play. The quote was, hopefully we take another step forward. It's very difficult to predict some of these things, Josh McDaniels says, but we'll see. Otherwise, Foster Moreau would be the guy if you need him. Good evening to Aiden. Hope you're doing well, my man. We got Tampa Bay, Russell Gage not practicing. Mike Evans limited today. You have Alan Lazard limited today. I think he's going to be on track to play. It sounds like it's just like a pain tolerance thing for his shoulder. Good news for the Titans. You get Ryan Tannehill limited at practice, so he's on track to play. No more Malik Willis, hopefully this weekend. Derrick Henry limited. Kyler Murray not practicing today with a hamstring. I'm not sure if this is a serious matter here. They listed a lot of guys as DNP today, so I think they're more so being cautious. I believe today was kind of just like a light practice walkthrough type day for them. Good news for San Francisco, Deebo Samuel. He's listed as a full participant today, so I fully expect him to play this weekend. Evan Ingram with his back injury, he's limited today. Dameon Pierce limited today, but I'm not overly concerned about Dameon Pierce. Let me see here. Jason says, I traded away JT for Herbert and Rondale. A-Rod was my QB before. So you got Justin Herbert in this deal, and then you pick up Rondale Moore. So I'm assuming your running backs were in good shape before Jonathan Taylor. You upgrade to Justin Herbert, who I know he's without Keenan Allen and Mike Williams for the time being, but his schedule down the stretch looks really good. So I like this move here. You solidify a QB1, and then Rondale Moore has been pretty nice for PPR purposes. So I like the move there. Good evening to Harris. We got Aiden's question here of DeAndre Swift, Raheem Mostert, and Khalil Herbert. This one's tough because it looks like Jeff Wilson's taking over the Miami backfield in terms of, let's actually look that up. I want to go to, if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, you should definitely follow me on Twitter, but I like to tweet out the Pro Football Focus usage, and that gets us our snaps and everything else that we care about. So looking at the Miami Dolphins game against Chicago, you see Jeff Wilson Jr. out snaps, out routes, and gets as many carries as Raheem Mostert. So all of a sudden, Mostert's not looking as good of a play. I'm leaning more towards DeAndre Swift in this one as he gets more work. And if we look at the Bears, like Khalil Herbert took the back seat in this one. He had been trending in the right direction, but all of a sudden, Montgomery dominates the snaps, dominates the routes, and he gets twice as many touches. So I'm a little concerned on Khalil Herbert. If I had to rank these guys, I'm going to rank them Swift, Mostert, Herbert as you have them typed in there. Murray or Cousins? If Murray plays, you're going to play Kyler Murray. Yeah, I mean, Cousins is a fine backup, but if Murray plays, you want to play Kyler Murray. Rave, Mooney or Palmer, PPR flex. I trust Josh Palmer more. It's a little bit tougher matchup going against the 49ers here. Let's look at the fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position by them. The 49ers, actually, they're middle of the road. So it's a good matchup for Herbert. I expect him to get, 7 to 10 targets as the lead receiver there. I feel more confident with him. The Chicago Bears going up against the Lions, I know they have a really good matchup, and Fields is playing hot. I'm a little bit more concerned if we can trust Mooney and Fields just yet. So I'm going to lean with Justin Herbert to Josh Palmer. Do you know when Jameson Williams is coming back? I'm thinking not till after Thanksgiving. Let's actually look and see if we have an update on Jameson Williams. I mean, they do need him back. Like they've been struggling at the wide receiver position. I'm not sure if there's any news here on him, but it sounded like he's going to be out a little bit yet. I wouldn't expect him to be fully ramped up into the offense by December. So not this week or next week, I think in the future here. But Treylon Burks did get upgraded today. So if you need him, he's a good guy. And yeah, Keenan was listed as day-to-day. I don't know if that's a good sign. Day-to-day usually means that you have a chance to play this week. So we'll hold out hope here. I don't believe he practiced today. Let me look this up. The Chargers. They're listing Keenan Allen as DNP today, so he would need to get a limited day of practice in here. But even then, like when he comes back, like I don't expect him to be at 100% route participation. I think he's a slow ramp up. So I would not plan to have Keenan Allen in our fantasy lineups this week, even if he does play. Not only do you have the risk of re-aggravation, but I don't expect him to be out there 100% of the snaps. Do you think Justin Fields will continue to get 25 points per game? No, I not 25 points per game. I do like. Let's look at the Bears' schedule because I like the schedule. Like if you picked up Justin Fields this week, he's probably your guy for the foreseeable future. Let's look at this schedule here. So they get Detroit, Atlanta. Like those are that he's going to be a top 5, top 10 QB in those two games. The Jets are a little bit stiffer of a test. Green Bay a little bit stiffer of a test. So those two games are not. He's not going to get 25 points per game. And then he finishes with Philadelphia, Buffalo, Detroit. So he's got 4 tough games: Buffalo, Philly, Green Bay, New York. 3 good games: Detroit, Atlanta, Detroit. So I don't think he's going to be averaging 25 points per game. I think he can be useful. But again, if you look at these 4 teams here and you look at what they allow for quarterback, you have, Philadelphia allow the second fewest points. There's the Buffalo Bills. There's the Packers. And then the Jets rank 11. So they're getting some tough games in there. I think Justin Fields the next 2 weeks, though, probably hitting 25. I can drop Herbert for McKinnon. I think at this point in PPR formats, like McKinnon's a nice play. I think he's been a guy that I trust lately. Let me actually look that up real quick. Let's look up his PPR usage, and then we'll look at the PFF charts. But I mean, 10.4 last week against the Titans. He had 8 targets, 6 for 40, but Mahomes threw the ball. Mahomes threw the ball 68 times, so he's not going to get 8 targets going forward. But you look at the range the last 4 games: 9, 6, 6, and 10. If you're just shooting for 7 to 10 points, I think McKinnon's fine. I don't know if I would drop Herbert because if anything happens to Montgomery, we know Herbert's going to get the ball and he's going to play well. Let's look at. I want to see if I can find where is the Sunday night game. So here you go. And I mean, in terms of snaps, McKinnon dominated 63 snaps, 52 routes run, 8 targets, and 3 carries. So he was out there a lot, but I don't know if we can depend on that going forward. Godwin or Amari Cooper, non-PPR. I'm probably going to go with Amari Cooper. The wide receiver points allowed here. So here's your Seahawks. They allow a healthy amount of points to the wide receiver position, so it's a good matchup for Godwin. But with Amari Cooper, whereas my Miami Dolphins are kind of middle of the road. They've allowed 9 touchdowns. The Seahawks have allowed 8. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns. I think they're going to have to open it up and throw the ball. So I want Amari Cooper. He's been amazing the last few games here. So go with Cooper. Yes, you can. Dulcich, man. And I know the Broncos had a bye last week, but before the bye, in Dulcich's 3 games, he's had 3 straight games of double digits, and he's starting to help open up that offense. He's kind of the 3rd target that they needed to keep defenses on their toes. So I would rather start the rookie tight end for Denver this week. Good evening to Ron. I need to drop 2 on my dynasty roster as I'm over the limit. McKenzie, Brown, Latavius, or Taysom Hill. I think we kind of know who Isaiah McKenzie is. And now that we got this Josh Allen injury with the elbow, potentially, maybe he's out this week or maybe a couple of weeks. I don't think you're ever going to regret dumping Isaiah McKenzie. He's going to be very difficult to predict which week to start him anyway. So I think McKenzie's probably that guy. Kind of the same thing with Noah Brown. He's been on that Cowboys roster for a few years. He only had value when Michael Gallup was out. I would expect those 2 receivers to probably not be much use to you. Latavius Murray, it depends on your running back situation. I know it's dynasty and he's an older guy, but I think Latavius Murray, at least for the rest of the season, he's got touchdown value. And again, I expect the Broncos offense to kind of continue to look better. So I would keep Murray and Taysom Hill here. Pick 2, Palmer, Sutton, Pittman, Mooney. I'm going to go with the first 2, Palmer and Sutton. Palmer's the easy one here. But between Sutton, Pittman, and Mooney, I'm optimistic that the Broncos are going to get Cortland Sutton back up on the wide receiver 3 radar. Keep in mind, this first 4 weeks of Sutton's season, he was a top 12 wide receiver. The last 3 games have kind of pivoted to Jerry Jeudy. He had got a lot of tough cornerback matchups. This week, though, going up against Tennessee, they allow the 3rd most fantasy points to the tight end position here. So I think you want to target these guys and go with Sutton and Palmer. And I looked at Otten the last couple of weeks. He had been playing well. I think with Cameron Brate likely to play this weekend, that's going to limit his snaps and his output. And they still have Kyle Rudolph there too. But a full practice for Brate, I think that, kind of pours some cold water on Otten's success. I don't think he'll ever take over Fournette. So this is a good question. Rachaad White, do you think he'll take over the RB spot instead of Fournette? I don't think he'll ever take over the spot unless there's an injury to Fournette. But there's been a lot of rumors and chatter that Rachaad White's going to continue to eat into the workload of Leonard Fournette. Let's see if I can find that Buccaneer game. I want to look at this. So Fournette still dominates the snaps, 52-29. The routes, 35-17. But the carries, 9 carries for Fournette, 8 for Rachaad White. 7 targets for Fournette, 3 for Rachaad White. I would expect Rachaad White to continue to get double-digit looks, whether that's 8 to 10 carries and 3 to 4 targets per game. I think he's going to be enough to be annoying for Fournette owners, but I don't, see a flip where all of a sudden Rachaad White's getting 52 snaps and Fournette's getting 29. I'm still holding Rachaad White in deeper leagues. Higgins or Freiermuth, non-PPR. Higgins. Well, if Higgins, is that Higbee? That might because Higgins is on bye. So if that's Higbee or Freiermuth, you want to go with Freiermuth. Pittman, Henderson, McLaurin, or Chuba for flex spot. So I know it's a tough matchup for Terry McLaurin, but he's the guy that I feel the most comfortable about. Let's look at the Eagles. It's a tough matchup on paper. The Eagles have allowed 6 touchdowns, 94 receptions, about 29 PPR points to the wide receiver position per game. It's a tough matchup, but the Commanders really only have 2 wide receivers anyway. So if they're going to allow 30 points to roughly Terry, Samuel, and one other guy, you're still probably looking at a safe floor for McLaurin. So I'm going to go with McLaurin in that one. Njoku, Schultz, or Higbee this week. I'm going to rank them as you have them, Ryan. If Njoku plays, I'm going to play Njoku. If not, I'm going to go with Schultz. The numbers have just been ugly for Higbee. And then the other part of Tyler Higbee's question this week is Matt Stafford going to play? He's, got the concussion protocol right now, and he might not play. So I think Njoku, if he plays, yes. Schultz, if not. And then, yeah, Giants do a decent start. I think so. I want to show you JSON, a really important tool here. So on the fantasyfellowship.com, I put it on the homepage, and there's also a tab where if you hit content, week 10 spreads. Essentially, we're looking at this chart. So I go to DraftKings Sportsbook, and I tally up all these numbers here. Teams at the top, I have this filtered by team total. So the Chiefs are picked to win, or they're picked to score 30 points. Buffalo, 27.75. At the bottom of the list, these teams are not supposed to score a lot of points. So the Texans only projected to score under 17 points against the Giants. So technically, the Giants are a great start. On paper, they're supposed to hold the Texans to under 17 points. I mean, the Eagles, the Titans, the Raiders, other good starts as well. But I would say if you're streaming a defense this week, the Giants, man, one of the best options for you this week. Matt Bain, what is up? Excited to see you this weekend. We'll be attending the Cowboys-Packers game. We'll be checking out Matt Bain's house. But anyways, George Pickens or Darnell Mooney? And I know Mooney's been playing well, as the Bears' offense has been as well. You have Mooney with a great matchup against the Lions. And then you have George Pickens with a decent matchup against the Saints. And they're going to be without Marshawn Lattimore. Now, I'm very open to George Pickens here because, one, Chase Claypool's out of town, and we could see more opportunity for Pickens in terms of targets. I just want to look and see what he's been doing the last few games to see if I'm comfortable with his numbers. I mean, the 0 against Philly is weird, but Philly's got good corners. But before that, you were looking really good for Pickens. And then let's take a peek here at the Moon Man. Darnell Mooney. Mooney over the last few games, you 8 targets, 5, 6, and 12. I think the momentum right now is probably with this Bears offense. I'm going to go with Darnell Mooney. Pollard or Mostert? I'm going to go with Tony Pollard. I know Ezekiel Elliott's back. They might kind of lighten his workload a little bit. The Packers do have a good defense. They don't allow a lot of fantasy points, but their one weak spot here, you can see the Packers, they allow the second fewest fantasy points per game here, but the one spot they allow points to is the RB. So I think Pollard's probably your best shot. Good evening, Hammy. Hope you're doing well. Cordero P or AJ Dillon non-PPR. This one's easy. I'm going Cordero Patterson, not thinking twice about it. Pick 2, full PPR, 1 RB, 1 flex. Jeff, Kareem, Palmer, Ayuk. 1 RB, 1 flex. I'm going to go with Jeff Wilson Jr. The RB, we looked at the numbers. I don't know if you missed it, but we looked at the numbers. This is Jeff Wilson's backfield in Miami. He's the better player right now. The Browns allow a lot of running back points here. They allow, looks like the 4th most. So it's a good matchup for Jeff Wilson. So we'll put him at the RB spot. And then at flex, I think you got to go with Josh Palmer. And again, I know the 49ers are decent against the wide receiver, but you got to take advantage of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams being out. I will say, if somehow Keenan Allen plays, I suppose you could talk me into Ayuk, but I'm going to go Jeff Wilson and Josh Palmer as your top plays there. Is Ayuk a sell high? I think with Deebo Samuel returning, I'm open to selling Ayuk. If you can get another, like if you could buy low on a receiver like Cortland Sutton or something like that, I'm open to it because now that Deebo's back and fully practicing, I mean, Ayuk's kind of the 4th best player on that team. So I would say yes. Let's see. Full PPR, pick 2, 1 RB, and 1 flex. Jamal, Jeff, Sutton, Pittman. I'm going to go with Jeff Wilson again at the RB spot. I'm expecting a little bit more work out of DeAndre Swift this weekend, so that makes me a little less excited about Jamal Williams, but the Bears allow fantasy points to the running back. They've allowed 12 touchdowns all year. I think you're going to start both running backs in full PPR. I just want to see what did Jamal Williams FF today? What did Jamal look like last week? So in a bad matchup, he still got 8 points. So I'm gonna say Jeff Wilson and Jamal are your top 2 plays. Sutton, I'm open to him having a good bounce back after the bye, but there's still question marks on Sutton. I mean, the dude's got 10 points in the last 3 games before the bye, so I think you start the RBs. Heineke or Jacoby? It's probably Jacoby. I mean, that Eagles defense, I don't really want to mess with it in terms of fantasy points allowed to the QB. You see the Eagles very, very good. They allow 11.42 to the QB, and the Dolphins, Miami, allows the most. So on paper, you got to go with Jacoby. On Superflex, I need a QB2. Should I trade Heineke and Jeff Wilson Jr. for Danny Dimes? I mean, with Heineke, we expect Carson Wentz to be back at some point soon. And if you don't need Jeff Wilson's like your 4th best running back, then sure, I would go ahead and do that. I think that's fair. Thank you for hanging out with us, Ron. Slayton, Wandale, or Donovan Peoples-Jones. I'm going to go Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's been playing well up before the bye week. He's had maybe 4 or 5 good weeks in a row. And again, we see the Dolphins allow a lot of points in the passing game. So Donovan Peoples-Jones is the easy answer. If that's rest of season, I want Donovan Peoples-Jones because we have Deshaun Watson returning in 2 or 3 weeks. Start 1 this week out of Ayuk, McLaurin, Sutton. I feel safest with McLaurin. I know it's a tough matchup for Terry. He has done well, though, against Darius Slay in the past. Let me look up Terry McLaurin FF today. Let's look and see what McLaurin's done against Eagles in the past. So hasn't played the Eagles. Oh, he did play the Eagles earlier. He went 6 for 102. So I think you're looking at a fine matchup for him. I mean, they lost 8-24 in that game, and he still put up 6 for 102. So McLaurin, I think you have to go with him. He's the safe play. Last year, he did go 2 for 51, 7 for 61. I think McLaurin's the clear guy here. Gallup or Singletary PPR. I'm still going to go with Devin Singletary. I know there's probably going to be more work for Nyheim Hines. And it's the Vikings defense. They're not amazing. Like they are better than we thought they were going to be, but they still allow a lot of fantasy points here. I'll go with Singletary over Gallup because Gallup is just kind of hard to figure out. I appreciate that run. Patterson or Godwin. In a non-PPR setting, I'm going with the guy that's going to score touchdowns, and that's Cordero Patterson in this one. It sounds like there's going to be some rain tomorrow night. Carolina weather. Let's look at this. They're calling for rain tomorrow. which to me yields more rushing than passing. So thunder showers following a period of rain early tomorrow night. That's kind of what it's looking like. Let me see if I can pull up the hourly here. So tomorrow around kickoff, that's when it's supposed to rain. So Patterson's going to get touches. Let me see here. PPR league with 40-yard play and first down bonus. Pick 2: Zeke, Mooney, Marshall, Jeff Wilson Jr., Warren, Toure. Pick 2, we're going with Mooney and Jeff Wilson Jr. That player would possibly play next week. Let me look in sheet. Let's see who the Browns play next week. The Browns play Buffalo. That's a tougher matchup on paper. If this is for next, it's hard for me to trust a Giants receiver. I'm still going to say Donovan Peoples-Jones. Lawrence or Carr this week. I'm going with Trevor Lawrence. And I know he's been kind of boom or bust, but over the course of the year, he's been more dependable than Derek Carr. And I like that Lawrence has the ability to get points with his legs. So Trevor Lawrence this week going up against the Chiefs. They allow a lot of fantasy points. And the Chiefs, I mean, they allow a lot of fantasy points because their team is good on offense and they throw the ball and they get points. It makes teams have to throw the ball. I feel fine with Trevor Lawrence. And I know Derek Carr going up against the Colts, like they should beat the Colts, but I would expect Josh Jacobs to be busy in this one. Colts are a little bit stingier here, so I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence. Foreman or Zeke. I'm a little bit nervous tomorrow night about Deonta Foreman. I will say he's got the best chances to score a touchdown, but I think Zeke against the Packers, that's probably where I'm going to trust my RB spot. Trade Swift for Jonathan Taylor, Dynasty. I definitely would. I think Swift is a really nice player, but Jonathan Taylor is a better talent, and I would expect the Colts to look a lot different next year, whether that's offensive line additions in a new quarterback. So I'm going to say Jonathan Taylor long term. Drake or Pickens? This one's easy. I'm going with George Pickens. I like Kenyon Drake as a prospect, but tomorrow night again, we just looked. It's supposed to be a rain game tomorrow night. If we look at what Drake London. Let's look at what Drake London. I'm assuming this is Drake London, not Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake's on bye. It hasn't been there for Drake London the last few games. I know he's got 7 targets last week. He actually had 2 end zone targets, so this could have been a game where he kind of got some steam going. But with tomorrow night's weather and just it being a kind of a low scoring game, I'm not super excited about it. I'd rather play George Pickens in that one. But keep firing up your questions. I'm gonna hit refresh on the news feed and see if we can find any more relevant information for us. Adam Thielen limited today with a knee injury. The big news today was Jonathan Taylor practicing. I would expect him to play this weekend, so no Deion Jackson. Way of the playa. How would you rank Everett, Schultz, Njoku, Higbee rest of the season? I want Njoku. Njoku's the best skill set of this group. And before Njoku's ankle injury, he was the tight end 4 on the year. So he has a chance to play this week. If not this week, it's going to be next week. And then you also have Deshaun Watson coming back soon. Njoku's the guy that I want over all of them. With Everett, I do like Everett, but he's been benefiting from the lack of Mike Williams and then Keenan Allen for the most part of the year. With those guys coming back soon, I'm kind of on Everett. I think I'm going to rank them Njoku, Schultz, Everett, Higbee. Tua or Geno? I'm going with Tua at home against the Browns. I'm going to go Tua. Peoples-Jones are likely next week, PPR. The only way I'm going to play likely is if Mark Andrews is out. So that's how I'll go with that one. I'm probably going to lean Donovan Peoples-Jones as of today. Needed an RB badly, traded DK for Swift. Hopefully Swift's workload picks up. Let's look at that actually. So, and if you guys want, I can put this link in the chat for you guys to look at. I'm just going back all the way up here to click on the game. Oh, there we go. So the Packers snap counts against the Lions. You have DeAndre Swift with only 10 snaps. Jamal Williams, 38 snaps to Justin Jackson's 13. DeAndre Swift, only 7 routes run, 4 targets, and 2 carries. I mean, that's not cutting it. I think for this week, you're probably going to see Swift overtake Justin Jackson and maybe hit the 20s. I think that would be a better number for DeAndre Swift here. So when he's in, they're still trying to give him the ball, but again, it's going to be a little bit of a slow ramp up. So I hope that trade works out for you. Lazard or Debo, non PPR. I think if Debo plays, you got to play Debo. I mean, it's a talent situation. Dulcich or Njoku. If Njoku plays, I'm going to lean Njoku just because he's been so good this season. But again, we're kind of 50-50 on he's going to play. He didn't practice today. He had been saying some good things that he's ready to play. They held him out today. If Njoku can practice Thursday or Friday, he's probably going to play. But I think for now, the safe answers, like you have two good answers. So if Njoku plays, I'll play Njoku. But I'm totally cool with running out the rookie tight end for Denver there. Jefferson, Kirk, DJ Moore, Tony, pick 2. Jefferson and Kirk. I like DJ Moore. I can't stand the quarterback situation. And I don't know if you missed it a few minutes ago, but we pulled up the weather for Carolina. It's going to rain tomorrow night. And I know the Falcons, he had his big game against the Falcons, the game-winning touchdown. But I don't trust the passing volume for Carolina, and I don't trust the weather. I'm going to go with Jefferson and Christian Kirk. Njoku or Pitts. That one's tough because we don't know if Njoku's going to play. If Njoku practices tomorrow, I'm okay with leaving Pitts off of my lineup. Let me actually look and see. Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's starting to put it together, but I mean, at this point, I would rather hold out hope for Njoku. And if Njoku can't play, we'll try and find a guy on the waiver wire for your tight end. So I think that's where I'll stay. Njoku or waiver wire tight end. How do you like Olave this weekend? So Olave, the Saints, traveling to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers allow a ton of receiver points. So it's a good matchup for Olave. I think if you're an Olave owner, you're waiting for Jameis Winston to get put back in the lineup. I think that's where we saw the massive air yardage and the deep shots to Olave. He's been good enough with Dalton. He's more of a possession receiver with Andy Dalton. But, man, if Jameis gets back in the lineup, then we're going to be cooking. So, Olave, top 15, top 20 receiver this week. Start him with confidence. I mean, he's been so good this year. Trade Swift and Cooks in a 2022 second for Jonathan Taylor and 24 for that pick. So essentially, this is just Taylor for Swift and Cooks. I'm open to doing that. Again, you're probably not going to get any usage out of Swift or Taylor is what we want this year. But if you really like Jonathan Taylor, I expect things to get better next year. So as long as you're making this decision for next year, go ahead and do it. And basically, you're just swapping out second round picks. I'm cool with getting Jonathan Taylor. He's the guy you want long term. Whew. Fields or Hurts? Oh my goodness. I mean, on paper, it's going to tell you to go with the Lions, the Commanders. So technically, the Commanders haven't really played a rushing quarterback. They haven't allowed a rushing touchdown all year. 17 points per game allowed for Washington, whereas the Lions up about 20. On paper, you probably got to go with Justin Fields. I know that feels wrong, but it's the Lions. It's at home for Chicago. That's probably where you want to be. So I'm going to say Justin Fields. But really, you can't go wrong. Like, you have 2 top 3, top 5 quarterback options this week. So fire away, trust your gut. I'm going to go with Justin Fields, ride that hot hand, and enjoy the rushing that they both offer. Bad news for KJ Hamler. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, so that kind of limits the Broncos offense a little bit. Good news for Christian Watson. He didn't suffer another concussion. They said it was a shoulder chest thing. So it looks like he's going to be on track to play this weekend. Last chance, check your waiver wires, guys, for Treylon Burks. He was activated from IR today. I don't know if he's going to play this week. I hope he does because the Titans need him. They need a wide receiver that they can throw the ball to. So if he's available, he might be able to help us down the stretch. Otherwise, I mean, no Deion Jackson today. Jonathan Taylor did play, so it looks like the Deion run is over. It was nice knowing you while it lasted. If you need to cut Deion for someone, I think that's okay. And then otherwise, I think we're pretty much caught up. So I'm going to get out of here. If you guys have any final questions, please fire them up. I will be going live tomorrow evening. We'll go live at 6:30 Central Time. So if you guys need any final questions, we'll go over the waiver. We'll go over the practice reports and all the good stuff there. So if you guys want to hang out with me tomorrow night, please do so. For the weekend, I'm headed to Green Bay. I'm going to be at the Dallas Packers game. So I might be doing a Saturday live show, but probably no Sunday live show. So that's where we at. And do I just drop Mostert? Christian, that depends. If you see someone you like on the waiver wire, sure, go ahead and do it. I don't think we're going to be wanting to start Mostert anytime soon. I believe the Dolphins still have a bye week coming up, so it looks like it's Jeff Wilson's season. Mostert's going to probably continue to lose touches. So, I mean, if you can stash, like if Khalil Herbert's out there, stash him. If you can grab any kind of handcuffs that you see fit. I mean, at this point, we got to treat Mostert as a running back 2 on his team. So that's where I'll stand with that. But again, if you guys have any more questions, follow me on Twitter. You guys can, tweet at me or DM me if you need it, or otherwise comment this video here in Drunk Live Show. Let's go, Matt Boehm. I'll see you Sunday, my man. But anyways, thank you guys so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Peace.